Hey everyone, Zach and Jules here, and we're so excited to be back with you for season 2 of Life After Prison, The Sit Down.
But before we start, we really need your help. Life after prison is nothing without you guys.
All of you listening to us, wherever you are the most important part of life after prison, and we need to hear from you.
And we want to know exactly what you think of the show.
Life After Prison is funded by the National Lottery. And for us to be able to secure more funding, keep the project going, we need to be able to prove to the lottery that you, the Life After Prison community, are loving exactly what we do.
And that you want us to keep Life After Prison going forever.
Forever?
Forever, ever.
Forever, ever. So we've made a small feedback form. It's totally anonymous. We'll be so grateful if as many of you as possible could please complete the form.
It will take you about 3 minutes to complete, and it will help us out so much.
You can find the link to the form in the podcast description or our Instagram bio and on our website, lifeafterprisonpod.com.
Again, thank you so much and enjoy the episode.
Yeah. Jules, did you ever think of running your own business while you were in prison?
All the time.
Yeah?
All the time.
What did you think it would be?
I didn't know. Well, probably personal trainer. Yeah, PT. But I just thought, I can't listen to anybody else telling me what to do anymore.
Yeah, we had enough of that.
Own business time. What about you?
Yeah, that was always come to mind. Like, yeah, I'm going to work, but work for myself.
Do you think this is a prison thing?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Life After Prison, The Sit Down with Zach and Jules.
Yes, where we're joined on each episode with a special guest who shares their journey of life after prison. And today, joining us in the studio, we have a social entrepreneur, Darren Murinas.
Well pronounced.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Hey.
You right?
How are you?
I'm all right, guys.
Good,
thanks for inviting us along.
Thanks
You're
for
welcome,
joining
man.
us.
Thanks for being here. Wanted to start off the show a bit different, Darren, yeah? I'm going to start off with a quote that I've heard you say. And the quote says, all of us today have the passion, the vision, the voice, the lived experience to make a difference. I would love to ask you this question in your eyes. Who am I now today? So, Darren, who are you now today?
I'm a very different person than I was 10, 15 years ago. So I would class myself as a leader with lived experience. And I'm sort of here to help others, but to inspire others as well, to make them changes in life, believing that everyone has potential. Believe in yourself, do what you want to do and be what you want to be.
Is that what you meant by the quote?
Yeah, I reckon so.
That was very nicely put.
Yeah.
Well done, on the spot as well. Okay, so the work you do now, you are the chief executive of Expert Citizens CIC. Can you tell us what they do?
So Expert Citizens, we're a community interest company based in Stoke, what we would call a lived experience organisation. So everybody has first-hand, past or present experience of a social issue or social injustice. And we use our unique insights to help design better services for people who are going through some of the toughest times of our times. So we do lots of consultancy, we do lots of peer-led or community-led research, and also lots of different evaluations, how we can improve services for people.
Why do you feel like this is, what they do is so important?
Very often, I think we've people who often design services don't have that first-hand experience of that service. And it's really important that actually, people who have that first-hand experience are involved in telling you what good looks like, what good feels like, and how we can make positive changes, and really start recognizing people with lived experience as expertise, and equally valuing that expertise as academic practice or professional experience.
I mean, it sounds like it's something that you are passionate about. So, like you said, who better to kind of have there doing that?
Yeah, I mean, when I see people, really live to their full potential and do things differently to their former lives, it gives me the energy, gives me the food, gives me the passion to really, to support these people and to reach their full potential and do what they want to do. And like I said before, be what they want to be.
And it also helps, it really educate and inform the systems that like the lived experiences gained from in order to improve them, right?
Yeah, and most definitely. We also say, we don't hold all the answers, but by working together, we can go out and find them answers together and really start making them improvements that we need.
100%. What's it been like? What's it been like, the response from like these organizations in terms of like accepting that lived experience, knowledge and insight?
When we first started a number of years ago now, it was quite difficult to get the seat round the table, to get our voices heard. But with persistence, we're persistent people. Things are improving now. We're not just that sort of tick box exercise. People are recognising us that we have knowledge, we have wisdom, we have skills, and we have the right to be in them conversations. Yeah. So things are moving on, and we'll keep doing what we're doing till we, make the world a better place, shall we say?
Well, yeah, I think that's incredible. It's needed. More and more of it is needed.
Definitely. What gives you the motivation what gave you the motivation to create this business?
The motivation was really some of the things I've gone through in life. So, being put into the care system at a very early age because I had disabilities, visual impairment, learning difficulties, battled with addiction myself, mental health, ending up going into prison, being homeless. That really sort of gave me the, I wanted to change my life, but how could I provide a space and environment where people are accepted and where they're able to change their lives too?
That's quite powerful, man. So from your own experiences, you wanted to then make it easier for other people.
Most definitely, yeah. We often, sometimes we keep knocking on them doors because we do want to change our lives, but sometimes them doors are shut, the hinges are a bit stiffer. So for people like me who get the platform, to get the opportunities, we need to make sure them doors are kept open for people for when they're ready. Okay, it might not work for everybody, but one day, like I had a light bulb moment in prison where I wanted to change, but there wasn't anything out there to support me to change. I had to sort of build something with ourselves to do that.
I think when something is, comes from a passion and something that you've experienced yourself, it's how things, we find solutions for things, and it grows because of the passion. So taking that step and taking the leap to create this it must have helped you as well, and helping so many other people. It definitely
helped me. It definitely, give me the opportunity to be here with you two guys today. But most importantly, if when we first started, like I mentioned to you before, it was quite difficult, but I've got sort of broad shoulders. I've had many experiences. So for me, it was, I was be able to take that negative stuff so it didn't affect some of the others within our group. And that was, what I was there for as the leader of that organisation, to make it a smoother path for others to express themselves, not to get stereotyped or stigmatized because of some of their past history. And so, yeah, and to see people, like I said earlier, to see people to do things differently and have the opportunities to get involved in things where, society for many years have written us all off in one form or another. It's incredibly rewarding.
How many people do you know that you have helped? Is it countable? Is it?
Yeah, well, we've had hundreds of interactions over the years, but more recently we don't really count. But more recently, the last few years, we've counted. So we've helped over 60, 70 people into full-time employment, into this area of work. Hundreds into full-time and part-time education. Hundreds getting involved in different research projects and speaking events up and down the country, and people becoming trustees of charities and funders. And so we've supported loads of people, but then people have always had that potential.
Yeah.
They've always had them skills, but often they get forgotten about. So we're just there to help them refine them and really look actually, how can you transfer skills from negative skills, shall we say, or negative behaviors into positives.
Yeah.
So I was very much, involved in crime before this journey change. But they were transferable skills. Great communicator, great networker. So just apply them into a different field, different area of work.
No, I like that because, you touched on a few things there that I resonate with, and that I like to explain that, we come from that lifestyle of whatever we used to do, but we've learnt those skills that are really valuable in key different areas of society. And it's just about transferring them into those places. But until you understand that these skills are valuable, it's really hard to comprehend that, I can use these skills I learned in another field. So to see an example of it, I really love it. So I can highlight that, look, he's just said exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. Do you understand it better from him? So hearing someone else say it, I really love it.
Yes, and it's recognising, very often, we are entrepreneurs. We're just entrepreneurs in a different way.
Yeah.
But let's take that whole life, negative life away and actually say, people that we can achieve so much. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And, we are worthy of having some of these challenges and being involved in some of the conversations we need to be involved in.
Without a doubt.
It also sounds like, your business is growing and expanding, and more people getting involved, which is great, which is really nice to hear. When I was reading about you recently, you said that you left school with no qualifications, but now you're a chief executive. What was the journey like for you, getting to where you are now? How was that?
It was quite a tough journey, to be honest with you. Like I said, I left school with no qualifications whatsoever. I physically and still have problems with, putting pen to paper and writing. So that was always caused me an embarrassment in life growing up. And it was always quite difficult. There isn't the technology that there is about today what supports me. So, I use lots of voice recognition software and things to help me. I've written blogs for newspapers and websites. So it is also recognising, even if you have difficulties in doing some of that stuff, that actually, you still have a wealth of knowledge inside you. So it's how we could get that out. And there's different ways of doing that, many different ways.
I mean, that must have been difficult, like really, really difficult to be able to, articulate yourself in some ways and not really having the skills that you wanted or needed to have to do that.
I was quite a jealous person, a young person growing up, watching others who'd be able to write or tap away on keyboards. And I always got frustrated and really angry with myself for not being able to have them skills. But now, walk around with me. I'm not going to promote the equipment, but a lot of, lovely software and gadgets and iPhones and tablets and stuff, and which, it's opened a new world up to me.
And that's a good thing as well, because just because, and you're a good example, just because maybe you never left school with qualifications, which a lot of us do, doesn't mean it's a barrier to your future success, right?
This is it. And most definitely. And also, when I was growing up, I was often called thick, stupid, naughty, and placed in the corner of the room. But actually, not till a number of years ago, I was diagnosed with dyslexia. Okay. So writing, for me, what was a real difficulty. But quite a lot of entrepreneurs have dyslexia.
That's true.
Really is.
Yeah.
And actually, that let's not get embarrassed about it, because we have other skills. Yeah. We have other talents.
Yes. You touched on earlier that obviously you've been inside, been in prison. What was your prison sentence and what was it for?
So I was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, and it was for supplying Class A drugs, mainly cocaine. I was involved in organised crime in my sort of local city, and definitely deserved to go to prison. And it was a weird sort of journey, because very much when I left school that I was really struggling, couldn't get a job, because of them disabilities or them differences. Struggled to cope. Started using drugs myself, drinking really heavy, became addicted. And it was only much later in life, since I've been doing this work, that I probably recognising I was probably self-medicating from some childhood traumas I experienced, but I don't use that as an excuse. My life just turned upside down. And, you know, unfortunately, drugs and stuff don't come for free. And I got involved in a bit of petty crime. And that sort of, over the years, sort of led up to being involved in organised crime. And very much regret some of the things I did, very much so. But also then recognising I probably wouldn't be sitting here today and being in the position I'm in now if I didn't go through that sort of journey in my life.
So do you think, you know, you've touched on a lot that's happened to you before actually your prison sentence and your life before. Do you think that these things, you know, when you were younger, was the reason that you kind of went down that path? Or was there anything else? How did it all affect you?
I think that most definitely, you know, I experienced some, you know, real childhood traumas, you know, experienced abuse physically, mentally, sexually as a young person. And maybe that my way into addiction and using drugs was to really forget about some of that stuff. When I came out of that care setting, that school, I totally forgot what family life was about. Didn't know who I should be in this mainstream society, what some people would call. Found myself quite alone. Forgot, like I say, what family life was really about. And probably one of the reasons why I got involved in crime, because I thought at the time that I was making friends. I thought my criminal friends were my family, but realising whilst in prison that actually pretty much that was all pretty much fake. It was a fake life. It was a fake family. It was not real. That actually, you know, some of the decisions I was making were really, really not the right decisions to be making in life.
How did that escalate into a prison sentence then? How did, like, you know, going into the life of the drug world, how did that escalate into a prison sentence?
It escalated because I got very much complacent to what we were doing, you know, and getting involved in, and actually, you know, thinking you're untouchable. But let me tell you, you're not untouchable. That what we were doing, we weren't, you know, super villains or this, that, and the other. Actually, you know, we were doing things wrong, and some of the things we were doing were completely out of order. And I'm so glad, you know, I often say actually that, you know, if I was still in that world, I probably wouldn't be here today. I probably wouldn't exist. I'd probably be dead. You know, we've lost many people in that world over the years. So I often say about the time the judge gave me probably saved me.
Did you, you know, whilst you were kind of going through this with the drugs and leading up to the prison sentence, and saying, you know, you're with the wrong people, thinking that they were your friends and were your people, and they weren't, you know, this does happen a lot. Was there anything kind of more positive going on in your life, work, or maybe plans that you wanted before you went into prison?
No, not really. It was quite a negative sort of life. However,
which must have been so hard to kind of get out of. And
oh yeah, definitely it was. And you get used to a lifestyle, and that makes it more difficult to get out. You get used to being in a group of people, and sometimes walking away from that life has its own risks.
Yeah.
Risks to you, to your close ones, to your family, very much so. But at the time, when I was on bail, my partner at the time had a son. We had a son who was just born a few months before I got sentenced. And really thinking about that just before I was going to prison, but whilst the first few months, years when I was in prison, I wanted him to be proud of me in a way. And I didn't want him to think, you know, if we ever met, which we haven't had the opportunity to do yet, that actually his father wasn't just a drug dealing sort of criminal waste of space sort of person, that actually he did turn his life around and he is doing something different now.
That's a great driving factor though. That's something great to like be your driving force, to keep pushing you to better yourself on a regular basis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him before?
So obviously he was a few months old before I went to prison.
Okay.
But unfortunately, since my release, that we've never met.
Okay. I mean, that must have been a lot to have to go through, especially inside as well.
Yeah, you know, and it happens to many of people who go into prison, that relationship breakdown, you know, and it's difficult for people to deal with in prison. And you can't show no weaknesses whilst you're in there to your other men or women, if you're, you know. And so you're very much battling with them emotions alone. The thing is, with prison, you got lots of times on your hands, aren't you, to think about things. And it's difficult, and you can't show any sort of weaknesses. And so dealing with some of them traumas of relationship breakdowns or not seeing your children is quite hard.
What was your reaction actually to your attitude towards actually receiving your prison sentence then? And, you know, was it a surprise?
I don't think it was a surprise as such. I think, you know, thinking back, probably saw it coming 2 years before we got caught. Like I've just mentioned, I think it saved my life going to prison in one way or the other. I really do. I think, you know, the drug taking, the lifestyle was just getting out of control. And it certainly wasn't, it didn't feel like I was a real sort of person. And like I mentioned earlier, it felt really sort of fake. And
why'd you say that? Why'd you say you feel like you wasn't a real person?
I think it just in this sort of make-believe world, it felt like I was in a movie in Hollywood sometimes, you know, and thinking back to some of them days, you know, it felt like, yeah, it just didn't feel real.
It's like almost like another world within the world, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And once you're
sorry, no, go on.
And like once you're out of it, this is for me anyway. You can let me know if it was similar or not. But like once you're out of it, you're like, what was I doing? Well, that is, you know what I mean? It's like you get a moment of clarity, or you get to see from the outside like that. It's not real.
Yeah, definitely. And it's you know, and when you have that time to think, I moved away from that, and you're sort of looking down upon yourself, you can see yourself there, all that chaos, and you think, wow, was that really me? Was that the true me?
Yeah.
I don't think it was. This is the true me now. And, you know, and I feel much happier now in life, even though I'm unable to see my son. Live in a total different place to where I lived. I feel so much happier. So much happier. I can wake up in the mornings with a smile on my face and not worried the police are coming through the door.
I mean, I've heard you say that to me quite a lot as well. So I can, understand how you would relate to that. Yeah, that's a really nice thing to hear you say, and not living in fear over your shoulder, you know? It's
the constant paranoia is hard to deal with, and you don't realise at the time how it is affecting your mental health till you're out of that situation and looking in again. And actually, you know, life is so much better. So much better.
With the reflections that you were talking about, you know, like looking back on it now, did that take place whilst you was inside? Is that where that thinking happened?
I think some of it did. I think definitely, because I knew, you know, I knew I was going to go to prison. And I thought at the time that I just had a son, I thought at the time, let's look at prison as an opportunity. Let's try and do something different with my life. And the thing is, with prison, there's a couple of choices you have, I believe, in prison. You can carry on the person you are when you go in there. You know, it's sometimes a college of criminology. You can build up more networks. You can build up more interactions and contacts.
Spiral down more.
Yeah. Completely spiral down more. You can get involved in the chaotic world of prison, or you can try and move away from it and get yourself re-educated, maybe, if you have them opportunities in certain prisons. Concentrate on you and yourself and not the crew around you sometimes. And that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that before I went into prison. But also, I think what set me up quite well is being institutionalised already as a young person, having them 11 years in care. So I was used to someone telling me what time to go up, what time to go to bed, when I could eat, when I could shower. That was already installed in me. But the stark reality of going in there in prison hit me hard at first. So yes, I was geared up. I was ready to go. I knew what was going to happen, but it still hit me pretty hard. And like I said, because of my disabilities, I couldn't get educated in prison. There wasn't the support for somebody like myself in the first couple of prisons I went into. And so I spent all that time overthinking things or thinking too much, and mental health really deteriorating as well. But then I also saw, one of my first prison cells was near the medication hatch. Okay. And every morning it was a bit like supermarket sweep. I kept seeing lots of young guys, young men rushing for their medication, but a lot of that medication was to do with drug use. So, it could be methadone, Subutex.
Part of their rehabilitation.
Part of their rehabilitation, they're addicts themselves. Yeah. And I thought to myself, wow, I've probably put some of them people in that queue. And that made me feel like responsible for some of these people. But that's also given me the energy where I did want to change my life around as well. And actually, if there was ever an opportunity to help some of these people who might have been put there through some of my previous actions in life, that I would take that opportunity with both hands.
Wow. That must have been a massive turning point.
It was a massive turning point. It was like an epiphany, light bulb moment, a dream sort of thing. But then the stark reality sort of hit on my release from prison, that dream was a bit shattered. So I ended up getting released with no home to go to. So I ended up sort of on the streets of the local city I was living at for a few months.
When you got released, was that something you expected? Like, to be released without somewhere to go?
Not really, no, because I knew when I was in prison, I knew I wasn't going to go back to the area where I originally came from, because I had to make that complete detachment from that life. Yeah. And I made this quite clear also to my probation officer at the time. And I filled in loads of application forms to get rehoused in different areas. And the stark reality was that when I was released from prison, that none of them applications were ever sent to any housing providers. They were still on that probation officer's desk.
That's crazy.
And so you were writing these from inside?
Inside.
Wow.
I was getting support from other prisoners, peer mentors in there to help me write them, because I couldn't physically write them. I think it was 16 different applications, 16 different providers. And I knew I wasn't going to get, a lovely 3-bedroom house. Yeah. I just wanted somewhere where I could put my head down and it was a roof and it was a safe space for me to start rebuilding some of my life.
Were you ever able to check where these applications went, or was it something that, they said they've gone through, but they hadn't?
I did challenge it. on my release from prison and said, how come these haven't been? Because I think the answer we got was at the time, because we had to sit down and go through them with you to see which provider would be the best for you, so we don't just send them out to all the providers.
Whoa.
And I thought to myself, well, you know, I was sending some of these in 10, 16 months before my release date, and I just felt pretty much let down by the system as well.
Seems like you was proactive whilst you were spending your time inside.
I was quite as proactive as I could be, and I was allowed to be proactive. And because I knew what my future was going to be sort of. I knew that I wasn't going back to that old lifestyle, whatever happened. I knew I didn't want to go back to where I used to live. And so I had to be proactive.
And you also, inside was the time where you wanted to create your own business, and
that didn't really, I didn't have that sort of idea originally when I was inside.
Okay. So this wasn't the time.
No, not quite.
Where the idea came from.
But it was leading up. So I knew, like I said, when I saw them people queuing for their medication, I knew I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to help in some sort of way or the other. And I ended up going to an open prison to finish my sentence off. And I kept going up to the education block every day to see what I could do. And I was made a bit of a nuisance of myself, really, to be fair, because I would go every morning.
I mean, you kind of have to do that. You have to do that in prison.
Help me, and it was one guy who recognised I was appearing there every day, asking to do something, not to be in my prison cell. And he basically, he was not a prison officer. He ran a couple of cooking classes, for prisoners. And he says, "Oh, come and join one of my cooking classes." And I thought, oh, great. I love food, as you can probably tell, guys. Yeah. Absolutely love it. And I was always interested in cooking before I went into prison.
We're all foodies here.
Trust me.
Absolutely loved it. And he says, "Don't worry, I'll write all the recipes out for you in super big letters and everything." He was placing them all around this kitchen. It was an amazing. He sort of shared with me that, before he moved into education, he was a professional chef himself, and I really felt inspired. And after, this course was for 6 weeks, I did it. I got some basic cookery qualifications in there. And then he says, "What are you going to do now?" I says, "I don't know. I've still got another 10 months to go on my prison sentence. But I've really valued, being in this kitchen and working with you and learning from you." He says, "Right, I'm going to create you your own little job in this kitchen. You can be my sort of assistant.
Wow.
You can come up, open up every day. Because I've also noticed," he said to me, "that you really work well with other prisoners, some people who are not as capable as you within the kitchen. So you can become a bit of a peer mentor."
Okay.
And it was great. It was like a new lease of life whilst I was in prison, that someone recognised that I had some skills, instead of being told I was stupid, naughty and thick like all them years as a child, that someone actually recognised I had some qualities.
Yeah.
And I was definitely not going to let this guy down. And I give it my all for like I say, 9 to 10 months. I was there every day, 5 days a week. I put a bit of weight on because I was eating lots of stuff. But it was great because there was also, we know, in prison there's quite an older people's population.
Yeah.
And some of the people we're working with have been behind the bars for a number of years. So it was helping them to plan healthy menus, upon ready for their release.
Okay.
How they could cook basic food, bake basic food, bake basic cakes. And it was great. I absolutely loved it. And that's what I wanted to do when I came out of prison. I wanted to go and get my chef's qualifications. And he provided me with the most amazing reference, which I've still got today. I had it laminated so it never got ruined.
Yeah.
And I really, that guy I met, and if it wasn't for him, he probably wouldn't have set me on this journey now.
Wow.
Most definitely.
It just takes one person or something to happen to spark that thing, that little driving mechanism that pushes you towards that positive future, right?
Oh, most definitely. And, you know, that if I ever had the opportunity to sit down and meet this guy again, you know, I'd definitely telling him that you've shown an interest and support in me. It's given me the ability to support so many other people.
Wow.
You also mentioned about peer mentoring. That's quite, you know, that's a big responsibility, especially for, it's a great responsibility, but how did it feel, you know, helping people readjust back on the outside, but you hadn't actually got out yet. So how did that feel? Did you know, you must have had confidence, you know, to say you'll be, to help them rebuild when you hadn't done it yet?
I just wanted to take an opportunity at first, but actually seeing people, like we're saying, seeing people grow, and I mentioned this earlier, seeing people grow, seeing people gain new skills, even if that was just a bit around baking or preparing food as such, was so rewarding to me that I found that responsibility of being a peer mentor quite honourable. I really, it really pushed me to think, God, there is different things to do. There is different things you can apply yourself to, and that sort of gave me the energy to carry that on my release from prison and do other volunteering opportunities.
It's exactly what people need as well when they're inside, is that energy and that motivation. So yeah, great.
Was your release what you expected?
I don't think it was. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest with you, but I didn't think I was expecting to, you know, end up homeless, shall we say, end up on the streets. But that also gave me other experiences as well. And so I believe sometimes in life things happen for a reason. And I think being homeless definitely happened to me for this reason. This reason why I'm sitting here today. This reason why we do the work we do at Expert Citizens. So I don't look at it as a negative. At the time, it felt a bit negative, but I do not look at as it as a negative. I look like that's really positive. That's another experience I can help and apply to this broken system we're all living in.
Yeah.
Did you receive any help?
I got picked up eventually by a couple of local support agencies who helped me get back on my feet and were really supportive.
Good.
Yet again, you know, it comes down to them individuals like we've just been speaking to. I met an amazing support worker who I'm really good friends with still today. She doesn't work in the same agency anymore, but we catch up quite often. And so, yeah, it's just having them, you know, bits of luck of interactions with people who have got big hearts and want the best for you. And
they are out there, isn't it?
They're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there, and they, you know, they do come along in your life. Just be prepared to really, you know, take them opportunities. And actually, you know, once they help me get back on my feet, it sort of reignited that dream I had in prison about helping other people.
And that's where it came. That's where the business idea came from.
Well, it was.
Yes.
We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So around in 2013, because I was accessing services, a group of people with lived experience were pulled together by some professionals in our city. Yeah. There was some National Lottery funding available, but they wanted to work with lived experienced people to design a new way of working. And so we were pulled together first just as service users, as the system,
as the title goes,
as the system calls us. And we had the opportunity to apply for this funding, and we were successful. And we helped to bring in £10 million worth of investment.
Wow.
Into our local city over an 8-year period, where people with lived experience were central of the design and delivery of this new program. You could say, and we definitely like to say, that lived experience was the golden thread through this new project. I ended up turning our little focus group into a community constituted group.
Did you take charge then?
I took charge. I took charge of it.
I love that.
I took charge. I put myself out there to grab as many opportunities as possible.
What were the people around you like as well that were getting involved?
Yeah.
Did you get on with them? And
Yeah. Got on with them all. We all had different life experiences,
Yeah, that's
but
great.
similar life experiences. I would call it that we're all survivors of the system. And
Love
you know, that
Survivors of the system.
Go on.
Yeah. Where unfortunately many people don't survive the system. Sometimes we were survivors, and some of them people have become lifelong friends and colleagues. And so yeah, I came the chair of our little group. We sat on partnership boards with chief executives, directors, other organisational leaders, and really started to grow as individuals. But also we were able to design stuff which actually we could then apply into making this system a little bit better for people who are going through multiple disadvantage.
You know, you took steps from going inside, and this kind of, you know, your confidence and your plans and your dreams kind of just kept going along throughout your time in prison, and then stemmed to outside of prison. And then, you know, it takes time, but that's wicked. I also wanted to know, like, you seemed really sure not to get back into that lifestyle. What plans did you put in place to make sure that didn't happen? Because that's quite hard.
Complete dissociation of the former networks, the former people, partners, even family in some ways as well. Moving away from the area where I was from, completely rebuilding, having some sort of faith, belief in myself to not to go there. And really, like I said earlier, I was looking to take any opportunity I could possibly that was offered to me to really put myself fully into them opportunities. And really, traveling up and down the country, attending different events, just building new networks, more positive, healthier networks for myself and others, really give me the sort of energy not to go back to them other things in life.
Even when you were homeless?
Even when I was homeless. And you know, I couldn't get benefits at the beginning, so I was also relying a lot on food banks, support from, you know, a couple of charities, and you know, that was hard. But I think in life you have to experience some of them tough times to experience the better times.
Yeah,
and it makes you much more resilient and much more capable than you think. You don't need that former lifestyle. You don't need to go back to them old ways of what you were doing before. There's much better things in life.
yeah.
Well, sometimes you're forced into those situations though, and forced into those positions. But you know, sometimes you have to make those decisions, and you made that, and that's not an easy one. So, like Zach said, especially, you know, asking when you were homeless as well, that would be kind of one of the first points to go back to that lifestyle. So
yeah.
So
no, most definitely.
Well done to you.
Did it ever cross your mind though? Did it ever cross your mind that, look, I need, you know, some extra support?
Zach's giving you credit, by the way. That's why he's asking.
No, because
don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say, Zach, it didn't cross my mind, because it crossed my mind an awful lot.
Yeah.
That actually, you know, when especially when I couldn't get benefits for about 14 weeks.
Well, that's a long time.
You know, it would have been so easy for me to pick a mobile phone up, to get back into that lifestyle. But this time I wasn't doing it, or wasn't going to do it to have that playboy lifestyle. It was basically just to feed myself, keep myself warm. But then it would have snowballed, mate. It would have snowballed.
That's like what I was getting at.
In them early days. And before you know it, I'm back behind the door doing a longer sentence.
Yeah.
And for everybody listening, how do you feel now about that decision you've made?
Best decision I've ever made in my life. It feels like, actually, I talked about getting that lottery funded. It feels like to me I've won the lottery of life.
Oh.
Yeah. And I know how difficult it is. We work with people who are constantly getting released into prison and going back on that revolving door. But if we can just, provide one opportunity to one individual, maybe not to go make some of the mistakes I made in life or go down some of them dark roads or dark paths, that's a success.
Isn't it?
That's a success. If you can save or help a person to save their own life, that's such a massive personal reward for myself as well.
Couldn't agree anymore.
Better than any drug, yeah? Any drug and taken. When I see people live to their full potential and do things they want to do, it's the best I've ever experienced in my life.
I gotta let that sink in for a second.
I mean, that feeling you can't buy. So, yeah.
How do you feel when you look back, and reflect on your life, like your journey and your transition, like how you were then and now? What comes to mind?
Whew. It's been an extraordinary journey of life's ups, downs, problems, chaos. But now that it's like being on a calm sea. Yeah, the waves have gone a bit, and the sun is shining, and life feels so good. But I wouldn't be in the position if I didn't experience all that other stuff in my life. So yes, I know I've made mistakes, but they're only mistakes if you don't learn from them and make changes. I've had some proper life lessons.
Love that.
Isn't it?
Life lessons, not mistakes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you lastly, ideally, what would the world look like when Expert Citizens accomplish its goal?
I think the world would be, a lot healthier, that people will have or offered the right opportunities for them as individuals. Recognizing that we all have skills, that we all have promise. Stop looking people as problems, but look at the promise within people. And let's give each other a chance. And and I think in a perfect world that we all need to show each other a bit more love and respect.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely need to show a bit more love and respect.
Yeah, Zach.
I
You don't
agree.
show me any. I'm just joking. No, we definitely agree. So thank you.
Thank you.
Love that a lot.
Darren, what we do on at the sit down is we like to ask our guests if any organisations were there to support them when they were released from prison. So I would love to give you that opportunity now. Were there any that supported you?
Yeah, so there was a couple of local organisations which were close to me at the time. So one was called Restart, which was that they're the guys who ended up finding me accommodation, and they support, I don't like the word offenders or ex-offenders.
Yeah.
So they support people who've come out of prison. Also, they just recently changed the name. It's called Concrete, which is a part of the Honeycomb group within Stoke-on-Trent, and that they support people who are also experiencing homelessness as well. And yeah, just also if you need any, lived experience advice, reach out to Expert Citizens. We're here, and we're here to stay, and we're here to support our community and build a positive movement for change.
Appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. There's also other organisations such as Shelter, who offer free, confidential and independent advice for people who have housing-related problems. There's also Drug Link, which are a substance misuse charity based in Hertfordshire who can help with addiction treatment, housing solutions and education and training. And there's also, let me say this right, Amayus, who support formerly homeless people by providing meaningful work and a stable house for as long as they need it. And you can find these organisations in our show notes.
Also, don't forget to check out our other podcasts, Getting Out, and we have an episode all about recovery where we speak to John from Humankind, and he gives great advice and a lot of knowledge on how to continue with your recovery once you're released from prison.
Yeah, and some good advice about not only if you're someone who's dealing with recovery, but supporting other people who are recovering as well. So there's really good advice in there. Check that out. We did an Insta Live recently, didn't we, Jules?
We did.
And on the Insta Live, we asked you all to sum up your life after prison journey. And I want to share a few of the responses that we got. T said, it has been a journey of strength. Gasconi said, resilience. And Igal said, patience.
Love all of those.
Darren, how would you sum up your life after prison journey?
I think we've mentioned all them there through this conversation today. And I think, patience, time. Often we don't invest enough in time and in people. So I think, really for me, summing it up as take whatever opportunities are offered to you in a positive way.
Taking opportunities.
Taking opportunities. I mean, we love you guys getting in touch with us, and we're loving the interaction. So please do keep getting in touch, and you can DM us on Instagram and Twitter at AfterPrisonPod. Email, you can do it by podcast@prison.radio, or if you prefer to write, you can at Life After Prison, National Prison Radio, HMP Brixton, London, SW2 5XF. And we also do have a website as well, which is lifeafterprisonpod.com.
Yeah. So, Darren, thank you for being here and sharing opening with us. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, guys. It's been a great experience this afternoon. Thank you.
Likewise.
Good.
And thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps us get the podcast to those that need to hear it. And we'll see you next time. Take care.